April 11th, we'll call the Wright County Health and Human Services Board meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good afternoon. Glad everybody made it and found a way to get into the building. We'll start with the meeting minutes from the March 14, 2022 meeting. Anyone have anything they want to add, delete?
I'll move approval, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Motion to second.
I can't second my motion.
I just wanted to see how long it took. I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made by Commissioner Hewson, seconded by Commissioner Delyden. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Review and approval of the agenda. Anyone have any changes to make to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, motion made
I'll second it.
and seconded. Any discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Consent agenda. Anyone have anything to add or subtract or change on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, just that in front of each of the commissioners, I placed the public health retreat agenda that didn't quite make it into the board package.
Okay, everyone got a copy of that?
Yep.
All right. Motion to approve with the added item.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Second.
second. Any discussion? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now we're at the staffing announcement under the regular agenda. New hires.
Yes, thank you. Board, I would like to introduce to you our new staff since the last time we met and our last time in this building. I'd like to introduce Rachel Nelson. She's our health promotion coordinator. She's our health promotion coordinator in our health promotion and protection team reporting to John. So welcome, Rachel, and I think the board might have a few questions for her.
Just a statement. I think someone's at the door. I don't know if it's unlocked, but it looked like Michelle out there. Somebody there?
No, Christine just left.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Wright County. Do you have any information that you would like to volunteer to the board today?
Before we grill you, is what I want to.
Name, rank, and serial number, that's what I'm going to do. So you might want to let us know where you're from.
Okay.
I'm from Wyoming, Minnesota, a little small town right outside of Fort. I just moved to St. Joe a year ago.
Thank
And
you.
you're hired for a specific purpose, correct?
Yes.
Health promotion coordinator for drug-free communities grant.
Cool.
Started
Well,
March
welcome.
16th, and we're very happy to have her.
So we're so happy to have her at our first her first meeting tomorrow.
I know.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah. Welcome.
We also have Rebecca Landgard, and she is a social worker in our assessment services team. She started last Monday, April 4th, and she reports to Rochelle back there. So, hello, Rebecca or Becky?
Rebecca.
Well, welcome. Anything you'd like to volunteer to the board for information?
Well, I grew up in Wisconsin. I moved to Minnesota about almost 4 years ago, so I'm now in.
Well, hopefully
You just bought a
some.
house there, didn't you?
Yes, we just bought a house. Yep.
Someday, hopefully, you'll move to the Wright County since you work here.
Thank you, Becca.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
We have Mary Ross. She's our Office Tech 1 on our Office Support team, reporting to Lisa Spencer. She started also, actually, both her and the next one all started April 4th. So, actually, Mary has a spouse who also works for Wright County, so she must have joined the league and joined her husband and worked for the Wright County.
Okay.
Welcome, Mary. Any information you would like to volunteer to the board today?
Which department does your husband work for? Which department does your husband work for?
Was Lucor? Wright County, in the maintenance.
Oh, maintenance,
So he
okay.
was our HSC maintenance guy, which did a
Okay.
great job for us. We were stuck. The one reason we were sad about losing the old building was that we no longer have Luke entirely to ourselves anymore. Sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
No, no problem.
Welcome, Mary.
Yeah. Thanks for joining the Wright County and living in the Wright County. You guys otherwise have done listen.
All my life. And we have Catherine Wright, an Office Tech 2. She joined the Child Protection Team on April 4th. And Catherine, remind me, you go by Catherine? Katie. Katie, okay. Same thing, Katie.
I actually grew up in Wisconsin as well, but I live in Buffalo now.
Okay.
Yeah, my husband also works for Wright County.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. What
You might
department?
be here.
Hard to miss.
I'm sorry.
Welcome.
So you're
Welcome.
you're here to monitor him today, right?
Good. Somebody, from what I hear, somebody needs to.
Not wrong.
Commissioner Ketchmark asked me about the employee engagement survey earlier today. So I guess we have one employee who's happy enough to refer us to other people.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah, and he's turning a really nice shade of red too.
So board, that is our new contingent of new staff at HHS.
All right, thank you. Next is Employee of the month, May.
Come on up. Board, I would like to introduce you to our May Employee of the Month, Daisy Blanchette. Daisy is a child protection assessment social worker in the child protection team. Daisy joined Wright County in June 2018. Daisy's nominator states, Daisy is involved in multiple committees in Health and Human Services. She carries a high caseload while helping team members without hesitation. Daisy has taken on the additional program area of sexually exploited youth, SEY, while maintaining her own caseload. Daisy is always helpful with consulting cases, even when her time is very limited. She's generous with it. I strongly believe Daisy's clients feel supported and listened to and not just a number. She works hard to provide extra support to victims while fighting for justice for SEY victims and their families. Daisy maintains a positive attitude and is supportive to coworkers and clients even when her child protection cases are challenging. Daisy takes time to listen to clients and others while taking on leadership roles in the child protection unit and at Wright County Health and Human Services. So thank you, Daisy, and congratulations on being our May Employee of the Month.
I did not prepare a speech.
What? They didn't warn you?
No,
No.
no warning.
So you worked in the old Pomida building or did you
I
work?
did.
Okay.
So we do have a beautiful new Employee of the Month parking spot that we will introduce Daisy to when her month comes along. So thank you,
Yeah.
Daisy. You do a great job and your whole team does fantastic. So.
Did it feel good to get out of the Pomida building?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Much brighter and much more spacious.
Next, Social Services, Public Health, Financial Services. We have a proclamation for April 30th, 2022 as National Therapy Animal Day in Wright County. And Wright County constituent Amy Walls would like to fill us in on that. Amy, when you wrap it up, would you want to read the proclamation to the board? Okay. Thank you.
So maybe you can step over here, and Mason, were you able to get the PowerPoint slides? Okay, so they were all looked up for
Willow would
you.
like to say hi to
Hey,
Jane.
Willow.
Well, thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate it. Did you say I should sit?
No,
Okay.
you're fine.
Okay. I actually brought a shirt for Therapy Day. Has to check out her surroundings. Willow here is an alpha dog that she has to verify every place we go is safe. So I just want to bring you a little information of how and why I'm here today. Little background, average family from Monticello, Minnesota. And as a youngster, I was in a very emotional state as very much a people pleaser and a peacemaker. And I was in an emotional relationship, emotionally abusive relationship in my teens that set me down a different path in life. It manifested itself in depression, anxiety, and ultimately anorexia in my 30s when my children were in elementary and middle school. What I thought was my rock bottom turned into a year into therapy for that it was only shifting sand. The rock bottom really hit a year later when our 11-year-old child attempted suicide. After a 10-day stay in a hospital and a few wonderful sessions with a therapist, they gave us a recommendation that our son would benefit from the love of a dog. We were very fortunate that 2 months later, neighbors of Jamie's had a litter of puppies that we were able to meet when they were 6 hours old. And one little girl stole our hearts. Lily Ray of Hope came into our homes and took a very dysfunctional family that I had created, that everything was fine, had shattered. And so she, with her loving, unconditional support, taught us new skills, how to face things head on, and what a love of a pup could really do for a family that was really struggling. So, as we said goodbye to Lily at the age of 12 and put that past behind us, it gave us a new direction and a joy that we can bring to others. 6 months after her death, I was given the greatest gift of this sweet little girl here named Willow Grace. And she has become a bright light in my life and in the middle school at Monticello, ages 6th through 8th grade, where my son was. Great feeling to give back now. Our students, our futures, and our staff need us now more than ever. The pandemic has given us a gift, and that gift is to be able to speak openly and honestly about our mental health and our wellness. We need to grasp this opportunity at this time and create, just to shatter that stigma of what mental health and illness is. We have an epidemic in our world in regards to a nation's mental well-being, and we are absolutely failing. In my opinion, we are not using animals to the greatest potential that God gave us to use them for. So, I created You're Not Alone, and for those of you that are well aware of mental health, do you see the semicolon in the middle of that puppy's face? That semicolon means that your story continues. You can be in the darkness at one time in your life, but you can pause and there can be hope. Can I have you slide? This was our family and what this little Lily Ray of Hope did. Changed our direction, and that son of ours now is a high school educator, helping kids that are struggling. The next slide. This is Willow. We have been in the school district since October, and we go during their lunch hour so they can get a puppy pass to visit Willow in the library. During that time, they've allowed me to speak about my story and our struggles since I had children that were that age. I'm teaching, sharing, and implementing social, emotional skills and well-being, promoting mental health and wellness in the students personally and those surrounding them. I'm promoting self-care strategies on handling the challenges of bullying, as that was one of the main reasons my son struggled. Educating them about the amazing gifts that animals can play in our mental health and lives, supporting mental health needs of both the students and the school environment. And finally, we're creating conversations surrounding acceptance, understanding, empathy, and non-judgment of invisible diseases such as mental health or physical health. And I'm teaching them that through Willow. Willow looks perfectly healthy, but Willow has disabilities. At 10 months old, she couldn't get up at the end of the night and found out she has severe dysplasia in her joints. So even though she looks healthy, it takes a lot of work and a lot of love to keep her. And I'm teaching that in children, even though we don't see the illness, it can still be there. Our mission and goal you can change it please, at You're Not Alone, right now our first mission is to equip all Minnesota schools with a therapy dog team. Willow tells us that she shares puppy love, compassion, positivity, and possibilities for a brighter tomorrow with the students of Monticello School District. With doing that, I'll be recruiting positive, motivating, and hopeful volunteers. It could be with retired teachers or retired staff members or current teachers and staff. The requirements are that anyone that has a well-trained dog that they feel would make a great therapy dog team with them, they would need to complete what's called their Canine Good Citizen test, and then we can enroll them in a therapy class, get their education and their testing. What we're in need of is support in terms of publicity, funding, and a therapy dog teams all over the state of Minnesota. The biggest part of this is that it's not going to cost our school district. You're Not Alone will fund the therapy classes and the testing to get these teams in the school. The biggest part of the mission, though, with You're Not Alone is a vision of creating a peer network and mentors. Nope, we're staying here, girlie. Come on. Much like AA has sponsors that have lived the disease and walked the journey with them, I want to create a network of people like myself that have suffered as a woman to a woman, as a mother to a mother. And by doing that, we are going to help people that know that this is just a blip of time in their life and that there is hope. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amy, just before you start reading that, thanks for coming in and sharing that with us. And I was wondering, is there money available now then? And if you had volunteers with the dog that would fit into the program that you could say, well, here you go to different districts, or?
Well, our first fundraiser is actually June 29th. It's in Monticello, and we're having an indoor-outdoor concert with Michael Shines, who is a singer-songwriter. I see people shaking their heads. I have been utilizing my events business right now to help fund and get some things going for You're Not Alone. I am reaching out to the Lions in Monticello this month. They're hoping to be donating. So I can't say that right at this moment I have funds, but it's very soon.
And also for the board and the rest, I'd like to acknowledge receipt of the positive feedback from Carrie Green, the Monticello Middle School librarian. A very detailed account of the impact on Willow around the school, so that's good to hear.
Thank you. Wednesdays with Willow is what we call it. And if I'm not there on a Wednesday, they come looking and ask why she's not there. So it's been a marvel. I mean, it's just the joy it has caused in my life, and the students and the staff has been tremendous. Turning something dark into a really positive thing for us.
And you had a request for a proclamation for a special day.
Wonderful, yes. I'm very honored to read that there are thousands of pet partner therapy animal teams serving in communities across the United States. And whereas Pet Partners has designed April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day, and whereas Pet Partners therapy animal teams in Wright County play an essential role in improving human health and well-being throughout the human-animal bond, and whereas Pet Partners therapy animal teams make millions of visits per year in such settings as hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and hospice, whereas Pet Partners therapy animal teams interact with a variety of people in our community, including veterans, seniors, patients, students facing literacy challenges, and those approaching end of life. And whereas these exceptional therapy animals who partner with their human companions bring comfort and healing to those in need, now therefore let it be resolved that Wright County Health and Human Services Board of Commissioners declare April 30th, 2022 as National Therapy Animal Day in Wright County, and encourages its citizens to celebrate the therapy animals and their human handlers. Further, the Wright County HHS Board of Commissioners publicly salutes the service of animal teams in its community and its communities across the nation. Dated at Buffalo, Minnesota, this 11th day of April 2022.
Thank you, Amy, and that's the resolution.
I'll make a motion to accept proclamation for April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day.
I'll second that.
Is that resolution, main resolution?
It's a
or-
proclamation. It's not listed as a resolution, Mr. Chair, but if you'd like a roll call vote, we can. Otherwise, it's just a simple vote.
Okay, that's fine, if that's acceptable. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Would you like to pet real
Motion
quick?
carries. Sure.
Walk her behind
I was
them.
just gonna say, she's really been wanting to come over here and check you out.
Wants to see that guy probably instead. Hey there.
I'm wondering who we are. Who are those people sitting up there?
You wanna say hello?
You a good puppy?
Oh, she just
No.
flew right by you.
No, no. She smells my wife's therapy animals, cats.
Oh, that's why, yep, she flew right by you. All right.
I kinda wanna sit up here for a
Yeah.
while.
Look at her, she's like, can I be up? Thank you so much
Yeah.
for your support.
Yeah, you bet.
I appreciate it.
I'm really glad you made it.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks Amy for everything.
Yes, thank you.
Willow,
Come here, Willow.
is it Willow Grace?
Willow Grace, yeah, what we go by
Nice
Willow.
dog.
So Jamie, item 2, we're gonna table, is that right?
Yep.
No, well, Michelle, I think was just gonna give us the next steps.
Updates and then,
So, yeah, we're not having the discussion today. I think we're just gonna set it up for a committee of the request for moving it to committee of the whole.
Okay?
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.
So back in January, Jessica and I were here just to give a truancy and ed neglect update, and at that time it was asked to bring it back, so we set it on for today's meeting. But the request was to bring it to a committee of the whole. There's been a number of changes to the truancy process this year, so to make sure that it's a streamlined process. So just to clarify, it's Health and Human Services and the County Attorney's Office are the two entities that really run the truancy program. With the schools, the Sheriff's Department and Court Services are not, they're not involved in that process. So our request would be to set it on for committee of the whole, to have our two departments come and talk about the process and how we've seen that it's gone. Our ask would be that we'd schedule it more toward the end of the school year, so we'd have the stats, that would make sense. And then Jamie and I, when we were talking about it today, we were thinking it might be helpful for the board and for our two departments if we had some information from the schools. So I did approach Brian Lutz. The email that you got earlier today was our conversation at the Delano Safe Schools around what if we developed a joint survey to send it out to the school. I don't know if it would be the administrators or the social workers. We'd have to figure some of that out, but to develop a joint survey to then also bring that information, hopefully, to the committee of the whole. So we thought that would be a good way of hearing, our perspective and also getting feedback from the administrators.
And I think our goal out of it then would be from the committee of the whole to get the board's input on what's the direction going forward. It's like we've done this, we've done that, we've done other things. Like it'd be nice just to kind of take what we've learned so far,
Right.
see where I would say this year we work with the county attorney's office, but we have kind of two disparate paths, I would say, and I don't know if that's a direction we want to continue in. Do we want to marry them? Do we want to just have one? So I think there's plenty for discussion, and I agree with what Michelle said. It really is our agency and the county attorney's office that's the most impacted, not that the schools, it comes up all the time at our Safe Schools meetings, because that's where we talk with the school administrators. But I think there's maybe the perception that court services and sheriff's office is involved with truancy, and it's really not the case. They might know the same kids, but when we're talking about truancy, it's more of a program versus, it's usually not involving those other entities.
What is Mr. Chair?
Yes.
What is the program that Court Services works with, the
right choice?
Right Choice? So how does that differ?
Well, we do right choice too.
Yep. Typically, that is the school is determining which kiddos go there, and it's related to a violation, a law violation. We have broached the use of right choice for kids who are struggling with truancy. Ultimately, it's the school's choice whether or not they approve that or not. We've kind of been on different sides of that because there are some kids that really struggle with social anxiety, and then being in a big school district, I mean, most of our schools are fairly large, so being with a lot of kids isn't conducive, for their learning, but it has to be the school has to agree to that placement. So, yeah, that's a great question, and I think a good topic to discuss at the committee of the whole. One thing that we've looked at so last summer, when Jessica and her team were revamping the program, they looked at a number of different counties who have truancy programs. Most do, but similar sized counties. And just for, I guess, the full disclosure, lots of counties do it differently than we do it. Some do the program really primarily through Health and Human Services. It's the county attorney's office runs it completely. And then a third it's court services that runs the program. So we've had some of those discussions last summer too, like, gosh, maybe this doesn't stay with Health and Human Services. I don't know, but I think our end goal, and I believe the county attorney's office, if they were here, would say the exact same thing, really is, how do we get kids back to school? So we're all on the same page. It's just how do we best do it?
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I was going to suggest maybe holding it in June when you have more time to get your data.
That would be better.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea, because then we have that all schools meeting in August, and then if we were going to tweak something, we could be looking at that interim time to tweak it. My only other comment that Michelle didn't say is, I think one of the challenges we have in Wright County is there 10 or 12 school districts.
It's 10 for sure.
So many school districts, even like Coon Rapids or Anoka, they have like 1 or 2, and we have all of these, and each school, just like counties have different philosophies, schools also do, so it's hard to make a program fit within or align within what the schools want. Some schools want us there all the time, some of the schools only want us when they really, really, really need something. I mean, so it's kind of just a hard nut to crack as far as what we want to deliver to the school. So I think it would be good really to get it in front of the full board.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
There was a program that we switched over to court services at one time. I don't recall what it was, but did it have anything to do with it?
No, that was Rule 1.
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember we had transferred something in the funding,
Yep.
and I couldn't.
That was more just.
That was more
money.
administrative. They were already doing the program, but the money was coming through us, and we were looking
Right.
for a way to move the money so we wouldn't be in the middle of it. So that was successful, and we're very happy with that decision.
And getting it out of SSIS, that was the big.
That was a big mess.
Yeah.
So you're hoping to get the survey out and get the results back before the teachers scatter at the end of this school year?
Well, it wouldn't be teachers completing it, so it would be more, I would say like social workers, counselors, principals.
Well, school staff, I should say.
Yep.
So you're
And
hoping to get
typically
it.
those folks are there, a little bit longer, but yes, we would want to get the survey out. Gosh, I would hope in May. I know it's already April, but get it out before
And
everybody leaves.
And it could just be what worked, what didn't work, what could work better. It wouldn't have to be a real,
Right.
just to kind of, find out some of the between, what the county attorney, maybe we'd have to describe, this is a county attorney, this is HHS, what we're, so I don't know. I think we'll have to put our heads together and come up with something.
Well, the worst case scenario is that you'll have 11 different ideas.
Right?
Yeah.
That may happen too.
Thank you.
Oh, did you need to make a motion to move it to the?
Do you want to wait till May to?
Yeah, I mean,
date?
we can't pick a date now without
Okay.
the other two commissioners.
So I'll just have it on the consent agenda maybe next month to say have a personnel committee, committee of the whole meeting to discuss truancy and ed neglect.
Yeah, then we'll
I'll
have to
just put it on
figure
the
out, then we'll have to
consent
figure out a
agenda.
date.
Okay,
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
Thank you.
There's a couple that came up to the door. Are you expecting anyone else?
Can you go take a look,
couple?
Molly or Christine? Thank you. I don't know
You
who
might
I'm
be reading
expecting
the
at this
sign.
point.
It's a couple, they're probably here for other services.
Okay, next is presentation for 2021 Community Health Survey, Joel Terkelson.
So this was a presentation that Joel, is it the same presentation you did this morning, Joel? Yep. Okay, so this is his twice doing it today. He presented today in tandem with Centric Care and Alina and Community Action. So there was a meeting at WECO's this morning and went over this health data. I think this is still rather high level versus really digging into the analysis of it.
Correct. Thank you. So we wanted to give you a quick overview of what we've learned from the survey data so far. We have done this community health survey every 3 years since 2012. Since 2015, we've involved Alina Health, Centricare, and Wright County Community Action. This last survey was in the field late October through January. I also mentioned too that I believe we sent you all the data sets, I believe a couple weeks ago. I realize there's a lot of information. And if you have any questions based on that or what you learned today, please feel free to ask those questions. We'll do our best to answer them for you. The survey was 8 pages this time. We had 54 questions. The previous survey we sent out in 2018 was 4 pages. The way this survey operates is that it's a random sample survey. We sent it out there. The survey was mailed out to 8,000 people across Wright County. And the way we gather the data, we're able to get at commissioner district level data. So we send out 1,600 surveys to each commissioner district. So we're able to see some of the data based on commissioner districts. We really have found over the years that it's important to get the data more localized rather than a county because things are different based on where people might live. This is one way we can accomplish that. This year we had 1,550 surveys completed and sent back. That's a response rate of 19%. And the funding from the American Rescue and Recovery Plan Act was very important, allowing us to do this survey along with financial support from Alina and Centricare. And I'm not going to read all of these, but I'll highlight a few of them. This is just some general information we pulled from the survey. We did add some new questions this go around because of the survey being longer. We did include some COVID-19 questions. I believe we will come back probably in May sometime to provide a more in-depth overview of what we're learning from that to you. So I won't really hit on it today. We included a question about how much sleep people are getting. Interestingly, 2/3 of all adults are meeting the recommendation of sleep. And I realize some people might really be interested in data, others might not be, but I unfortunately am very interested in data, so bear with me. We've been asking questions about physical activity and how many servings of fruit and vegetables they've been getting for a year. For each survey, it used to be required as part of the statewide health improvement plan, partnership or whatever it's called nowadays, I'm sorry. But so that's something we've been tracking. It's kind of surprising that just over 1/3 of adults are meeting the recommendation of fruits and vegetables consumption. 1 in 4 are getting it 5 days a week. People are asked a variety of questions if they remember their provider telling them they had certain conditions. So 1 in 4 of our residents have recalled their provider telling them they have high blood pressure. We asked adults to some additional questions this time about substance use, one being marijuana. 8% said they're a current user of marijuana. When we asked that in 2015, that was at 4%. Adults report never feeling lonely, 27%. So that tells us almost 75% do at some point in the last month feel lonely or isolated. I think it's just important to the context of when the survey was out, late October through January, and what we're dealing with COVID, everything else going on. So that's kind of, it's something to consider as part of the data as well when we're sharing it. Majority of our adults do not have any issues keeping housing. We did include some questions that get some data around housing though. So we're excited about that. Majority of our adults, 90% are insured. And
98% are insured.
what?
98% are insured.
Yes.
You said 90.
Sorry.
You were reading the one before.
And about 3/4 have had a routine checkup in the last year. Something we've asked since 2012 and about people to self-rate their health. And from my understanding, we work with the Minnesota Department of Health on kind of helping us to analyze this data, and they said this can be a very good predictor of, people are quite honest, essentially, about this, and it's a good just overall snapshot of what people think about their own health. And we typically look at the good response is very good and excellent combined together, and that's what's circled in the green. That is roughly 91%. Would rate their health as good, very good, or excellent. We asked them some questions about their delay of care. This has just been a point of interest, I think, in general, especially working with the healthcare systems and us. Just what does this mean, and then why are they delaying this care? One of the questions, I'm getting ahead of myself, this is related to days of not good mental health in the past 30 days. We've asked this since 2015. Usually we're seeing 2/3 of adults saying 0 days of poor or not good mental health. It's up to them to interpret the definition of what's not good to them. But this go around we saw 46% saying 0, so that's quite the change from previous surveys. Now on to the delay of care. Sorry about that. On the far right, that's the county level, so 25% did delay medical care that they needed in the last year. And then we're showing this data by commissioner district. So with all the data that we have, we can show this at commissioner district, but we're not doing that with all the data. I believe the data you were provided does have that data in those data sets, but just for the time we have today and the context, some of this we'll share at commissioner district, but some of it we will not. And as you'll see, there is some variation with some of these data points based on where people are, where they live.
And that's pretty significant, pretty good variation.
Yep. We also asked them why they delayed their medical care, so then we give them a list that they could check. So for medical care, most common reasons why people did delay their care, what they thought it wasn't serious enough, COVID-19's impact, and also the cost. Here's a question of whether or not they delayed dental care. 17%, so a little lower than medical care. Not as much variation across the commissioner district, but some. And the reasoning, cost is number one, COVID. So very similar to what we see with the medical care and with mental health care. Thankfully, this is lower than the others, 15%. Again, some variation across the commissioner districts. Again, this is delaying or did not get needed care during the last 12 months. This kind of aligns with the medical care as to why they would delay, not serious enough, and the cost. Not as high of an impact from COVID. Also, the third highest, or the third reason ranking the highest would be did not know where to go. Something, jumping topics a little bit, even also tracking or asking information related to driving behavior. So we're asking questions about talking on the phone, eating while they're driving. Well, we might wonder why we asked them that, but it shows that they're distracted. And we also ask about reading or sending text messages among those who ever drive. And I've circled often, and sometimes that's just the way we report this out. Or you might, and I also forgot to mention, hopefully you have that infographic or have seen that, kind of a one-page talking points. It has some of this data that I'm going over, but it's just in a paper form. And likely you're going to see that we're showing, roughly 41% of adults admit to texting and driving sometimes or often.
It's amazing it went up with all the, it went up the last, since 2015.
Distracted driving?
Mm-hmm. Well, texting, not significantly, but 2.9% to 3.7 often.
Yeah.
That's, with everything we've heard about distracted driving, you wouldn't expect that one to go up. But, yeah.
And there's certainly added context to this too. We'll show us here momentarily about people's opinions as far as some issues facing our county. Distracted driving is on that list. We'll see where that ranks. I thought I would throw a slide here with our data that's from Clear Impact, and that kind of parallels what we're going to talk about after this presentation. We're going to share with you kind of a project we've been working on in Clear Impact, where we can show data live on our website through the system, but I just simply made this graph and put it in the PowerPoint because also this is another way we're going to be able to share the data shortly. We asked questions about adult consumption of alcohol in the last 30 days, and we're looking at 70% of adults that say they've consumed any alcohol in the last 30 days. We also asked a question about binge drinking, and I believe that number is on your infographic. That stayed pretty consistent, right around just over 30%, I believe.
Joel, do you have like the 18 to 21-year-olds separate in this, or when you say adults, are you counting anyone over 18?
Anyone, yes. Or the survey itself was mailed to just adults.
Okay.
And to be perfectly honest with you, it's quite common that if it is addressed to say an 8-year-old that lives in the home, it's likely they're not going to take it. So we typically are not able to report out data from a smaller segment of population that's younger. It's usually combined with 18 to
So I was gonna say,
35.
be curious to, well, like 18 to 21, because they're not legal drinkers yet, to see how many folks said they drank in the last 30 days. I was just curious.
I would be curious too to see that, yes. And I think it's important, well, I've heard.
It's easy to figure it out. All you gotta do is take a survey here on how many, and you can just, probably assume that
Raise your hand if you drink, no, I'm kidding.
before you were of age.
While it won't be 18 to 21-year-olds, when our schools participate in the Minnesota Student Survey, we'll get some data about those adolescents. But again, unfortunately, not likely in that age group, but we can certainly, the neat thing about this survey is we can work with the Minnesota Department of Health to get some of this data broken down differently, where we can see if there's differences amongst different age groups, male, female, by education status, by a variety of things. There's a lot of different ways we can analyze the data.
Because like this particular slide, I think, and the comment you made this morning that, liquor stores are reporting high sales, but the percentage hasn't gone up dramatically. So I think it's probably these people are drinking more. The same 70% are drinking more. So it'd be good to see a slide to say, like, has your alcohol consumption increased? Because then I think we would maybe see the data about where that number is.
Great point, yes. We hope at some point to possibly do an online survey as well, where we could essentially took what we had in the mail survey, have it online where people could take the survey, and essentially we would have two different data sets that we could compare against each other. And we could add in some of these other questions possibly as well to get a different angle on something, because we just got this data less than a month ago. We're learning more about it as we continue to look through it, and I think it's good to have these conversations, because then more questions will get brought up and we can look at the data in new ways and ask for different ways to have the data presented to us or to look to analyze it. We've been asking adults who provide us information related to if they're a current smoker or not. We're looking at less than 8% of our adults right now say that they're a current smoker. And
Been going down steadily.
yep, and we also ask about use of e-cigarettes, smokeless tobacco, cigars, and then the state provides us with a combination of what that percent is as far as any tobacco use amongst our adults. What you see here is a listing of the possible issues that what we frame as issues or things happening in our community, and then we ask the public to rate that as far as is it not a problem, a minor problem, a moderate problem, or a serious problem. And when we share this information, we typically look at combining the moderate problem and serious problem together and reporting that out as a percent. What you see that ranks number one is distracted driving, 73%. Think of that as a moderate or serious problem. Again, a few slides ago, we just saw that 40% of adults admit to texting and driving sometimes or often. It's something that we've seen the last 3 surveys we've done. Distracted driving has quote-unquote ranked number 1 on this list since we started listing it. Obesity, number 2. Other mental health issues, number 3. Use of e-cigarettes and vaping, number 4. And then depression among adults, 5. It's kind of interesting how that ranks higher than youth, but again, the people we're talking about and asking these questions of are adults. But there is a lot of information to sift through, and we thought this would be a good starting point. We're going to be working on entering this data into Clear Impact, which again, briefly mentioned, and we'll get to shortly more in depth on that. We're currently analyzing the COVID-19 comments. We had almost 700 comments provided on the survey, so one of the questions was, it was open-ended. And so people provided us their thoughts. So roughly half of the people wrote in information. We as staff have taken some time so far to look at all those comments and develop some themes. We're now going to look and see what are some sub-themes within those themes. So that's the best I can explain it right now. It's a lot of work ahead of us, but we really do think there's some really helpful information within there, and we do look forward to sharing that with you soon. We'll continue to share this data and have conversations internally and with the community. Again, we had a meeting this morning with the lineup. Central Care and Wright County Community Action where we presented this data. There's some conversation in general about other data that the hospitals have pulled, and this will be included in our next community health assessment, which we're currently working on. And then we'll be back probably in May. to share that COVID data with you. And in case you're interested, there was a packet of information that was shared this morning, some documents from, again, the hospitals, us, and Community Action. If you're interested, I did grab them for you if you'd like. As a regard to the survey, is there any questions you have?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Not right now, but that'd be interesting to see.
Okay, thank you, Joel, and don't go anywhere because Joel is next up as well.
All right, for the HHS scorecard.
So board, today we have Emily Anderson and Joel here and Jody Martin. Kim is going to be Jody, so you can replace Jody's name with Kim's name. We have, and actually Commissioner Hewson is familiar with this because we presented this at our HHS Advisory Committee as a way to create more transparency across the county and to leverage our Clear Impact software that we've had now for a couple of years. We are working with an HHS to put out a public scorecard on our website. So what we would like to do today is run through with you some of the information that we want to share on through Clear Impact on our public scorecard and get permission from the board to start using the information on our HHS website. So, and so what we did is what we have what you see up here right now is our mission statement for HHS, strengthen, support, and serve. We have our 4 strategic imperatives. You'll see this soon in our annual report. I think May is going to be a busy month because I think we're also introducing you to our annual report in May, and it sounds like we have a lot of things coming back in May. We have our program development, community service, efficiency and quality, and culture and development are our 4 strategic imperatives. So we looked at the strategic imperatives and the programming and the things that we do in the community, and we wanted to, again, bring this to your attention and get the green light to proceed with this to include on our website, and something that potentially you as commissioners, when you're out and about, could point people to if they have questions about what the heck is HHS doing. So some of the information you see, you might think, well, you don't run that program because we have like unemployment information, you know, the rate of unemployment in the county. However, we do keep this information because then we can extrapolate it and look at it in comparison to other things like the use of food support or people on different programs and things like that. So with that, I will turn it over to Joel and Emily and Kim.
Want me to scroll through this and pull it up?
Sure, I can. You've seen Clear Impact at our board meetings when we bring our quarterly financial reports to you, and those are the graphs you see with like where the revenues are and things like that. So you've seen Clear Impact before. We're just using it in a little bit different way here.
Okay, so I'm standing in for Jody Martin. She's from our child support area, and she was working with Joel and Emily specifically to get this underway, and I kind of took over as our as the ground shifts between or underneath us with the workloads. I was the lucky one elected to do outcome 1. So as you can see, we have 4 different indicators here. First of all, we have the result. It's people are self-sufficient and have adequate resources to meet their needs. And then underneath that, we have 4 indicators. And the one that I really wanted to talk about is the one nearest and dearest to my heart, which would be the number of food insecure people in Wright County. So that's a very interesting number, and just like our financial statements and things like that, you can see the arrows. It's going up or down or that kind of stuff. So let me just go in there and show you. So here is the graph of where it is, so you can notice here that it says 2019. This information comes from the Feeding America website, and it's showing people who are food insecure. So that doesn't necessarily mean the people that we're serving. So the numbers that they're producing are not as recent as maybe the numbers that we have, but it will give us an idea of where we need to go with this. There are a lot of people in Wright County who are food insecure who have not received SNAP benefits. So what this is going to do is it's going to show us where we need to focus our efforts and what kind of a gap we have between the people actually being food insecure and those people that we need to focus on. So you can see here that there's a story behind the curve. I have a note here that said in March of 2020 the pandemic hit. So, you know, once these numbers are updated, it'll show that SNAP cases are on the rise. It also gives us an opportunity to show where we got the information, so I don't forget, because I will. And then, just like I said, it has an opportunity to put the strategy here. We use the number of food insecure people in Wright County to focus our outreach efforts in the places with the highest need. So that is the main one there. Now let me just show you the tandem piece in the performance measures, which then shows, now we have many of them under financial services, but then here is the number of people in Wright County that participated in SNAP. And so this will give you an idea of what our numbers look like. I remember several years ago, Commissioner DeLayden brought me a printout, and he said, why can't we do this? Hennepin County does this. And it had numbers that were similar, like, hey, this is how many people we're serving. And so it's really good information to have out there. And you can see those SNAP numbers. I actually went a little bit further back and started with 2016 to present. So that's really good information to have, and it'll give us the ability to focus in the right area. You guys have any questions about those? Before I turn it over to Emily here.
So each of us are just kind of tackling an outcome. So for outcome number 2, it's people have equitable access to services. So one program that I want to highlight is the Jail Release Assistance Program. So this is showing the percent of people who do not return to the Wright County Jail after utilizing this program. And we are currently at 98%. So then when you go down to the performance measures, now we can dive deeper into what we're actually doing and the impact we make on that indicator number. So within social services, it's our program. So we are going to look at the number of people who received services through that program and the number of people returning to the Wright County Jail. And then again, this is what we want to have public facing. So within the number of people who receive services, we also put information down of the various types of services people have access to within this jail release assistance program and how it's benefiting the community.
I think this is really beneficial for us, all of us as an agency, to be able to have this data together and the public to be able to access it so readily. This is really built to be able to be embedded right on our website. And as we in the back end update the data instantaneously, it's then updated for them in the public, which is pretty neat. Just even earlier today, I was updating this, and based on the link you were provided, this information now is along with this. I wanted the next outcome would be people achieve and maintain well-being. Again, this correlates to our survey data that I just went over. And I think another really important thing is that we're able to provide the narrative to this, so the public can see the data, but then if they're interested, they can then read that, take a few moments to read and figure out, okay, what does this mean? What are they doing to address these issues and why? And if we're having success, they'll see that in the data. Just because we see a green arrow going up or a red arrow going down doesn't mean we're doing a good job or we're not doing a good job, but there's many other factors that are in play, and we can help explain that in addition to the data. So thankfully, staff in our office had helped me pull this together as pertains to work that is happening on their end related to mental health efforts that are ongoing. So that's, again, this information is from our last survey. And we can show this data monthly, depending on how we're accessing it or utilizing. It can be shown monthly, annually, and or in this case, we're gathering every 3 years, so it's shown every 3 years. And then something that pertains to, again, taking data from our survey, including here, this is related to adults delaying mental health care. It was a daunting task as we built this to figure out what exactly to include in the scorecard, because we are doing so much, but we feel pretty strongly this is a really good starting point that we put together. With that, I think, is it Christine?
So then the last outcome has to do with minimal impact to taxpayers while ensuring the needs of all residents are met. And our indicator is the performance or the percent of your tax dollar that goes towards health and human service expenditures. This aligns with the, in our budget presentation, the little dollar that's split up by each of the different areas. And for 2020, we were up to 36%, but overall, in 2016, Health and Human Services was 51% of the budget. So we are actually have made positive trends in that particular area.
So is it safe to say, if I'm reading this right, we actually have more dollars coming to our agency, but that it's a lower percentage of the overall county budget?
The overall tax
To the
capacity to the county is higher, but less of it is going towards health and human services.
Okay.
Then next, we have the cost to provide services. So this is just looking at our expenditures by quarter. And of course, there's going to be some fluctuation when, you know, we have larger purchases. So it's not necessarily going to be a real even flat line, but you can see they kind of have a trend between that $6 and $8 million. Then we also have the cost to provide services per citizen in the quarter. So taking a look at our entire population, if you divide out our expenditures, it's costing $53 per quarter to provide all of the services we provide in Health and Human Services. I think one thing that would be impactful to add at some point is the additional expenditures that are coming into the county but are paid directly through the state. We get that information from the Human Service Cost Report, which has been behind quite a bit, like we just got 2019's. So I don't know necessarily that right now is the time to add it. But if they catch back up that it's only a year behind instead of 2 years, then it might be more valuable, because that report really shows the magnitude of the amount of services that are provided to our residents that aren't directly impacting county taxpayer dollars.
So the last time I saw the cost report, and this is, I think, mostly just through financial and social services, doesn't really include public health services.
It does not include public health, no.
It's so well over $200 million that are funds directed into the county through HHS clients and the work that we do with them. Because the payment might be going to the provider versus through the county. That makes sense. SNAP, SNAP would be going to the grocery stores. Some would be going to PCA, but it's a huge number of amount that comes into the county.
So the last one then is child support effectiveness, and this one shows how much child support is bringing in for the clients compared to the costs of how we provide those services. So you can see the trend is going down.
A low number is a good number.
Yep. And that is everything in outcome 4. Any questions that I can answer on my outcomes or any of the other product lines?
And then just a note, is this the wrap-up part then? Or is there more?
I don't know, we had a formal wrap-up.
Okay.
I'm just the wrap-up.
So this is for this is the public dashboard. We also have, and we've been using an internal dashboard, which has different measures on it that are more performance related. So maybe Jill is keeping track of a number of items that she does that's not for the public consumption. It's more like, give me an example, Jill.
Well, our financial dashboards are an example of internal reporting that we're monitoring compared to what's going to be public facing.
So we're just hoping to use Clear Impact as a good, again, transparency mode for out on our website for the public.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Do we have amount of people, like the child support cost effectiveness? And how many people, or kids, or families, or however?
Case numbers?
That kind of go with this?
Like, we could put that in some of, I don't know if that would then show up in the story behind the curve.
We absolutely have those numbers.
I was just kind of curious.
It's somewhere
you know,
between 3,000 and 4,000 families, not kids.
And I know we had on that child support, no, that's daycare. I've got the two mixed up. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
When you said child support, I was thinking daycare. Because that one, we're always overspending.
Right.
Well-
For the basic sliding fee, yes, we, $250,000 we overspent this past year. I don't know if that's part of our director comments today, I'll have to take a look. So, yes, we're way overspent in that area, but,
Which is,
which is fine, because the money, we got all the money through the state from other counties that underspent. But-
yeah, and it.
But it's, again, we need to keep an eye on that.
It's
And
a
that's
need.
Yep. So this is our new mechanism to kind of follow some of those trends.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't when we hire these new people as part of their, well, you know, part of their learning, maybe we can call it, is that they do daycare?
I think you're going to offer the old jail too, because you seem to offer the old jail many times on all
Hey,
kinds
that's
of
usually why you
ideas.
can. Although there is an empty pot
If you
over there.
recall a
closer.
board meeting about a year ago where we proposed having an employee daycare on site, that is no longer being considered.
No, and we talked about that, but there wasn't.
County
a-
attorneys didn't like it.
No, in fact, I even think though, we brought it up at the unions meetings or something.
Okay.
I recall,
Yep.
and there weren't very many employees that had any interest in it.
That was actually 2 or 3 years ago.
I just remember that, no, it made no difference about the attorneys, the employees weren't interested.
Okay.
Something about being too close to their kids. I don't understand that.
I think we were at 2 different meetings then.
Anything else, Christine?
That is all for me.
Okay, thank you. Under administration then, director's comments, and you had a proclamation, I think, included,
I
right?
do. Do you want to start with the proclamation?
Well, I just didn't want to forget it, but
Yep.
I don't take you out of order.
And actually, I have somebody here who would like to read it to us, so.
Was it Willow or?
Sarah, come on up. Last week, April 4th through 11th was Public Health Week. Plus it was like, I think our second or third week in the new building. They did a very nice, every morning, they brought in a treat in our beautiful new second floor break room for everybody. And it was, I think, just a really nice, upbeat way to celebrate public health and get something nice in return. But I do want to just say before Sarah reads the proclamation that this last year has been, again, another difficult one for public health. I think our staff have really stood the stamina test of time on some of the issues that we've been facing over the past couple of years, and really appreciate all the work that our public health does.
And we're just really excited we haven't celebrated National Public Health Week in our agency in 2 years, the 2 years of COVID. We used to host a salad potluck where we would provide all the fixings for everyone. And so it was nice to be kind of close back to that. And I know people really enjoyed the opportunity to share with everyone. So the proclamation reads, whereas the public health community protects and improves the health of all people and working to make all communities great places to live, work, and play. And whereas public health plays a crucial role in promoting good health and greater longevity for Minnesotans by working to immunize people against disease, identifying and controlling environmental health hazards and infectious diseases, improving the health of mothers and children, and promoting healthy behaviors such as increased physical activity, good nutrition, and smoking cessation. And whereas Minnesota's public health professionals are on the leading edge of developing new strategies to detect and control disease outbreaks, address emerging environmental contaminants, communicate valuable information about health case costs and quality, prepare for large-scale emergencies, and promote healthy communities. And whereas the public health community fights against health inequities shaped by social, economic, environmental, and political conditions and institutional racism, because improving the health of those experiencing inequity, including people of color, American Indians, rural Minnesotans, immigrants, and refugees, LGBTQ plus people, and people with disabilities, leads to improved health for all. And whereas
Public health regulation is a critical tool for building and sustaining safe and healthy communities for Minnesota and beyond. And whereas state, local, and tribal public health workers have been at the forefront of the pandemic response, working tirelessly to keep communities safe from COVID-19 through vaccination, testing, contact tracing, and other efforts, and sharing information to help people make decisions for themselves and their families. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Wright County Health and Human Services Board of Commissioners adopt Governor Tim Walz's proclamation this 11th day of April 2022 for the citizens of Wright County, and declare April 4th through the 11th, 2022 as National Public Health Week.
I'll make a motion to accept that proclamation.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Yes.
Motion carries. Proclamation carries.
And thank you, especially after the last 2 years. Really.
Sarah, you got a spot for Jamie. Do you have a spot for?
This is what Jamie.
Oh, okay, maybe this,
It is for Jamie.
that's for my signal. You guys pass it and then
Okay.
I'll sign it.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
All right.
I messed it all up. Thank you, Sarah. I did want to share with the board, you have in your packet our calendar year 2021 financial reporting kudos. We had a stellar report from MD8, I'm sorry, Department of Human Services. I can't even talk anymore. DHS, thank you. I worked there for 8 years. And they're commending us to offer your staff for perfect performance in meeting the Department of Human Services financial reporting requirements for calendar 2021. Goes on to say that we got all of our key fiscal reports in on time. We participate. It was all submitted to FOD on time, and this kind of goes on in this congratulatory from Commissioner Jody Hartstead. This is Christine Partlow's area, and she has a great set of people, and she might want to say something in their behalf as well.
So yes, commissioners, I know we have been awarded this year after year, and that really it isn't a testament to the quality of work the fiscal team provides. They do a lot of reports every single quarter and every month, and they work intricately with the different team members within public health and social services and financial services to make sure all of the pieces are working correctly. So this is one of the things that we have significant concerns about when we talk about centralization and breaking apart the teams that are working very well together to accomplish a different goal. So we just ask that you keep that in mind as we go through the ongoing discussions.
Good work. Thank you, Christine.
Yeah, they never disappoint. We also have a pretty good review here, our child care case review. That looks like this. This is just from the state saying they did an audit of our cases. I just pulled a small sample, but our cases were 100% accurate, or at least 0% inaccurate. 0% were inaccurate. The statewide total is a payment error rate of about 7.75%, so which sounds kind of high, but we contributed to a lower statewide average. So these would basically, I think, be both Christine's and Kim's folks kind of contributing toward that low error rate for childcare. Just if you hadn't heard, and it kind of came as a surprise to us, I think we just got an email sometime last week that Safe Families is closing their doors. Yeah. Do we have any more information, Michelle? So this is something that's been near and dear to the commissioners, and we've worked closely with them, and we kind of got a lightning bolt last week. Maybe I may answer your back, I don't know.
Well, yes and no. It was a shock. And actually, the reason I was late to the meeting was because I was having lunch with Elizabeth from Safe Families. So during the pandemic, they went from serving 5 counties to 17. It actually, I think the influx came right around the same time as the pandemic. They were really trying to grow and expand. Then the pandemic hit, and they struggled with getting volunteers. I mean, just, I think you can kind of put the pieces together. The national organization, there was also some scope creep because they just desired to serve families. And so they were kind of getting away from really what their mission was and how they wanted to serve families, best serve families. And really they have, you know, they've got their best practices, but also it's, I can't think of the term, but, you know, they've really done the research to show, or to see, where can they make the greatest evidence-based, yep. So their evidence-based practices, that's where the scope creep was happening, and so they knew they weren't doing what they knew was to be their best practices. So the national organization, I learned a little bit about Safe Families today. Apparently there's 2 different ways you can operate Safe Families, really independently or as like kind of an add-on to another 501c3. And Minnesota was independent, and they really want it to be merged with another organization who's already established and really kind of can branch out and add these Safe Family Services under their umbrella. So that is in the process. They've identified an organization. I guess I don't really feel comfortable sharing that until like the ink is dried on the contracts, but that is in process, and they're hoping to begin taking referrals again in June. So we thought it was maybe done for good, but hopefully it's just a pause and a reset. So she's reaching out to Elizabeth Carroll's. We have to take a look at our contracts. So, I mean, there's some behind-the-scenes things that probably will take 2 months to get figured out and whatnot. So, at least I'm happy to report that they're not gone forever. It's kind of a reset, and hopefully this will better establish the infrastructure that they need to really grow the program.
Good, yeah, because it's really a good program.
We put a lot of time
Really
and
good
effort
program.
into it.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
Yes.
And just to say, I mean, she loves working with Wright County. Wright and Scott County she said, are her 2 best counties, so.
Oh, of
and
course,
we really-
right would be, for sure, no doubt about that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're really invested in wanting this to work and,
Yes.
and grow. So we'll update the board as we know more.
Thank you.
I'm sure COVID was tough on them.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
It really was, yeah.
And then just on a personal note, I am going to be celebrating one of my big anniversary dates, 40 years with my husband, and we are going to Norway, so I will be leaving for 10 days starting next week. So if you don't hear from me, if you email me, it's because I don't think I have international coverage at this point. I'm working on it with Mr. Fomby. In the meantime, if you're not sure who to send a question to, one of the managers or Amy can always get you to the right person. So, and that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good trip.
Have a safe trip.
Yes, I hope so. Actually, it's interesting. Norway was very stringent in not allowing anyone in. Now they're letting everyone in, but we have to get tested to get back to the U.S. So, yeah.
Have you been there before?
No,
Oh, it's beautiful.
yeah, I can't wait.
Anyone else have anything for today? All right, we'll adjourn then at 2:43. Thank you. Is Norway